What's up, fam? I hope you're having an amazing day so far. I wanted to give you this one liner that really popped up and has been recurring this whole week for me in conversations. And then I just had a personal experience this morning that I want to share with you real quick is that you learn so much more from your failures than you do from your successes. You learn way more from your failures than you do from your successes. And I want you to keep that in mind if you are going through a season right now where you feel like quote unquote failing or you're hitting hurdle after hurdle after hurdle. And here's where it comes from. So earlier this week, I had a great conversation with one of my clients, and he talked about how he can remember almost a play by play of huge failures or mistakes he's made in business, and then give you the blueprint as to how to never make that mistake again versus how he got to some of his successes, right? I know success leaves clues, but naturally our minds are so much more wired to focus on failure or times of there's big fires, right? So that we avoid the danger again. And so he was like, man, I'm appreciative of my failures because those lessons have really stuck with me throughout time so that I don't make them again. I become a wiser leader because of it. All right, scenario number 2 just happened to me this morning. So if you notice, my outfit's a little bit fancier. I got a silk blouse, kind of like a nice watch, cute little earrings. I'm usually in like a t-shirt and a sweatsuit with some Nikes on in the office. But today I'm a little dressed up because I volunteered at a career day at a middle school. And I spoke to a group of 8th grade students about my business and sort of my educational journey to get to this point. And it was such a privilege and an honor to speak to them. Now, if you've ever spoken to a preteen before or a group of preteens, you know they're probably not that interested in what you have to say unless you are around their age or talking about something that they are specifically interested in that season of their life, be it a hobby, a sport, a movie, a book, etc. Well, no, they didn't want to listen to me talk about my business and how great my life was. And I noticed that because when I was giving them the highlight reel of what I do now, they were not that interested. Then I told them the story of how I got here. And part of that story is my college journey and how I entered college at UC Berkeley with the determination to become a doctor. And I failed miserably my first 2 years. Literally D's, F's, and not passes in most of my science courses. And the minute I talked about failing and depression and the anxiety that I went through and the imposter syndrome and the fear of having to tell my mom, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it through this school. I might have to drop out of college and who knows, just get a job and then figure it out later again. All of that emotion, that shame, I had all of their attention all of a sudden. Right. And so I found that interesting. I think it's something we all know to be true, but I just wanted to remind you today that it's the moments of your learned lessons, what you might call your failures, your shame moments, the places and the decisions that I've made that haven't been so great that I never want to talk about. That's actually the most important part of your journey, believe it or not. Of course, when you're in it, you're not going to think that. 20 years ago, I wasn't thinking, okay, yeah, 20 years down the road, I'm going to speak to a group of 8th grade students and potentially change their lives forever. And if I'm being really transparent, I probably wouldn't have cared back then because you're just trying to get through what you're trying to get through. But I just want to encourage you right now, whether it's a current story of failure, shame, feeling low right now that you're going through, or it's something that you're like, yeah, I never want to talk about that, but maybe I do need to share that testimony in my story with somebody. Those failures are probably the most important part of your story. And there's a saying that I absolutely love. I want to credit Coach John Wooden, I believe, for saying this. You win some, you learn some. You win some, you learn some. There are no losses if you are willing to learn. So if I could leave you with a question today is, what am I learning from this feeling of failure, from this moment that feels like a failure right now? What is it that I'm about to take away? This is the golden nugget. This is the turnaround moment. This is the wisdom that you get to take that's going to move you in a completely different direction. Now, in my personal story, what I told them was I learned to stop focusing on my weaknesses and to actually accept, highlight, and be thankful for my strengths. That was my big turnaround. I thought I was supposed to be a doctor because everyone said I should be one. And it was the first time in my life that somebody told me, well, Camille, if you don't want to do that and you actually are really good at these things, why don't you focus on your strengths? And so that was my learned lesson, to start looking at what my God-given strengths were, and then to pour everything into optimizing, maximizing, using that for service and creativity. I don't know what the learned lesson is for you, but I tell you, there is something from this season. So don't get so caught up in the windstorm or the misery of what feels like failure and shame. And instead, I want to encourage you to find the golden nugget, the learned lesson, the wisdom that is trying to come through right now for you, because it's about to be a turnaround moment. And I promise you, you probably will end up telling this story 5 days, 5 years, 15 years down the road and being like, that was a defining moment for me. And then all eyes will be on you for that. Cool. Anyway, hope that helps you. I appreciate you, my friend. As always, keep leading from love. Peace.